another reason why I didn't really mess with them. So like the best course of action for me to have any sort of contact or communication with another female at 10, 11 o'clock at night, like we mentioned before, when we're getting off work, is the strip club that closes at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
I mean, we have dating apps, we can message and stuff, but not very many people are willing to come to a military base at 10 o'clock at night.
Yep. You nailed it on that one. But yeah, and it really just stems from, I mean, we're lonely. You're lonely when you're out there. I mean, it's really what it comes from. And a lot of times, man, we just go there just to talk to the girls.
Yeah, and that's literally all we did. Like I think the only time I ever spent money there was the first time we went, and that was right after tax season, and we got like $2,000 a piece, and we literally almost blew our entire taxes at that strip club.
Yeah.
Like we got private rooms. They didn't sell alcohol there because it was full nude, so they couldn't sell alcohol. I guess because think that's a Colorado state law or something.
Yeah.
But like it was just, and then buying dances for other soldiers that we had, like just to be nice. Like it just seemed like after about a weekend of that tax return, we went to the strip club and we were probably there for a total of 12 total hours, like within a day or two. So I mean, those are, I mean, it's not the best habit to have, but entertainment wise, that's really all we had. We had video games at some nights, and that's depending on how late we are, because we were West Coast and all my friends were East Coast. So the time difference, by the time I got off, was 1 o'clock in the morning there. And then I didn't have any significant others. So, you know, we had, the only options I had was Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and strip clubs. And if I wasn't getting matches on the other ones, the strip clubs was the only option I had. And that was the only way I can talk or even have some sort of relation with, like, even if it's just a conversation or communication, which was 9 times out of 10 what we were doing. We would just have a conversation. And like they ended up knowing us by name, and they would sit on our lap for 35 to 45 minutes, knowing we weren't going to buy a dance, just to have a conversation. I had one person talk to me about baseball every time I walked in. She was the bartender though. She wasn't a dancer or an entertainer, but
and then plus, I mean, we weren't going crazy, you know, we weren't causing problems or anything like that.
We paid the $20 entry fee.
We mainly were there just to hang out, just to kind of kick back, relax, you know, have a couple, you know, conversations with different people and just kind of relax. And it'd be that, or we'd throw barracks parties all the time, or just have people over but you never could get that actual relationship that you're looking for. And that is a big problem. And even when you did, though, they got mad that you were married. Well, I think that was more of a Colorado thing, just because it's very, very liberal there.
Oh, okay.
But and then some of them would just be, some people that you meet would be like, oh, you're in the service. Well, I don't really want to move around everywhere. I don't really want to, you know, they want to stay. That's their home. They want to stay there, and which is completely, you know, understandable. But you never could really get into a relationship with somebody and have a meaningful relationship with somebody, because you were either working, and there was a couple of days where we were staying up 2 days in a row, no sleep.
Because that was the only personal time we had. I mean, imagine going to work, going home straight to sleep, waking up at 3:45 to go to PT in the morning to run however many miles or do however many push-ups or lift however much weight, then getting breakfast and working all day with skipping lunch, and then going home and sleeping, where your only meals early lunch or super early lunch or breakfast. Because, like, I mean, what places are open that late unless you want to eat fast food 24/7, but you're supposed to stay healthy in the Army. So,
and with our jobs, we weren't allowed to go and eat at the DFAC. That was on post. They never gave us time. They weren't able to give us time for it because we worked shift work.
DFAC is the cafeteria for the military.
Yes. And so, I mean, whereas all the other soldiers, they have designated time slots to go and eat. They have to get off work by 5 o'clock or whatever. They can't show up there. They don't have to show up before, you know, they do PT at like 6 and then show up for work at 9. We didn't get that. We worked, if we were working the road doing law enforcement, we were working 12-hour shifts. And if we weren't, we were doing PT earlier than they were, and then pretty much showing up after just enough time to go shower, shave. and then we were heading to the kennels to start work,
Right.
get the dogs ready and all that. And that stuff is taxing after a while. I mean, you kind of get used to it, but it is taxing on your body.
Like, the best way I can put it for any students that might be watching this and my professor is like, after a semester, you're done. You want a break, your brain's hurting. But imagine that literally being your entire life for at least 4 years, or unless you get hurt before. I mean, it does not stop, and you're constantly learning new tactics, new information. You're trying to build your resume, I guess you will, for possible what's it called? For possible promotions, and trying to just make it by. And your life literally is just the same exact repeat every single day.
Yeah.
For however many years you serve.
No, and I will say being in the Army was not all bad.
No,
there
it
was
a
lot of cool things that I was able to do.
Well, let's go ahead and go into that then. I mean, we're pretty far into this. She said a podcast was an option. So I'm just going to put it all together and act like it's a podcast. I mean, we're breaking everything down. I hope I'm still a little confused about the assignment, to be honest, but I know I'm interviewing a veteran. We're kind of breaking it down and being informative, so we can continue it like a podcast, and it will. So we obviously talked about some bad. So we can go ahead and talk about some good things that happened in the Army, and even some good things that happened after the Army. I mean, obviously, we both you have a really good job still due to the Army, and we'll get into that in a second. But let's start with some good things that happened in the Army.
One of them was honestly just the people that you meet while you're in. A lot of the shitty situations that you get put into, usually it's all done as like a group, and so you do make some pretty good relationships with other people through that. Kind of all suffering together type of thing. But then also, man, there was a couple times, with our job specifically, we would have to, when we had VIPs come in, really important people come onto post, or I did a trip where I went to Vegas and did a sweep for General Mattis, around the 2016 time frame, and I got to go spend a week in Las Vegas, and that was fun. Had a great time with that.
There's a lot of clubs in Vegas, isn't there?
There is.
And a lot of alcohol.
Yep. And then I met a couple people that I was in Korea with while I was down there in Vegas too. So it was cool to see them as well. And then met some people that I'd never met before, and we became friends. So there was a lot of fun things. There was some times where during training we're rappelling out of helicopters and riding Blackhawks around the base just to get the dogs used to it, get us used to it. Times that we did training with the SF guys.
That was a lot of fun.
Learning building clearing, how to properly search
search and rescue.
How to properly search a path, and it was a lot of cool things like that we got to do, which also, you're doing together and you're just learning, because a lot of people don't get to train that stuff very much, even though they are in the military, they are in the Army. Yeah, you're a soldier first, but a lot of people don't get to focus on that type of work.
Right.
As far as us, we would go over there, we would support them and kind of helping them out and training their dogs with detection work. And then they would help us out with aggression work with our dogs. They made some freaking beasts over there in aggression. My dog, for example, Leo, he was kind of a pansy. That dog did not want to bite anybody. Ran into a situation where I needed him to go find somebody and possibly bite him, and he was like, "No, I'm good."
He ended up biting me, that little fucker.
Yeah, he did bite you.
He did bite me. But we got him to bite. I was still proud that day. I was like, I don't want to tell anybody, and you're like, no, you probably should. I'm like, he's gonna get you in trouble. He's like, I don't care, just go.
Yeah.
You got to get that cleaned out. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Leo is retired now. I just found that out a couple days ago.
Oh, he is retired. Who has him?
Yeah. His last handler, I don't know who it is, but I don't think it's anybody we know.
Yeah, probably not.
Um,
I can ask Cantrell. I mean, you think he's still at Carson?
I'd be surprised if he is.
I
But
talked to him in January, and I'm pretty sure he was still in Carson. He was
okay.
getting ready for another deployment.
Oh shit!
Because
Wow.
keep in mind, he was brand new when we were getting out. Like he's going on
Yeah.
his 4th year probably now.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that Leo, I took him over to the SF finals, and we worked straight up just
Hold on,
on
you're
aggression
cutting out a lot.
with
Give me
him,
1 second.
building his confidence.
All right, now
Okay.
go back. So you took Leo to the SF kennels to build his confidence. And you
Hmm.
cut out really
Yeah,
bad. That's what I'm
and what's that? Am I still cutting out?
not right now, no. Your video is a
Okay.
little bit, but your voice is fine.
Okay. But yeah, no, we took him to the SF kennels, raised his confidence up. He kind of saw it through Leo's eyes. He saw me being able to handle all the situations, which yeah, I could have, but I need his help too in some aspects. And so we had to just build his confidence up. And that dog turned into a monster by the time that we left. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he mauled a couple people.
But he didn't
He
maul
got
me. He just nipped me.
no,
I
he
think that
nipped
was the
you,
start of it.
but he bit Lupo, and then he bit Adams.
Good and
Uh,
good.
yeah. Well, with Lupo, honestly,
It was
I'm
indifferent at the time. It's a very complicated
yeah,
alcohol-filled situation that happened.
yeah.
But
I was glad I was kind of glad he bit Adams though. But
oh
Adams was straight up just like being way too hard on him. I mean, he was smacking him around and stuff, and you don't need to do that.
yeah, I agree.
And so Adams deserved it, but yeah, he turned into a beast of a dog, man. Turned into a beast of, he was great at finding bombs, and then great at doing aggression now too. It was just you just had to be able to harness his his aggression and just be able to control it.
Which I still don't think he
And
necessarily had aggression. I think it's just like he had a temper at that point. He finally built a temper. He's like, once I get to this point, I can bite someone. I think that's
well,
what.
he didn't really know that he could bite somebody. He didn't know that he could defend himself. He didn't know all these different. He had no confidence.
Right.
Once that confidence came in, he was like, "Yeah, I don't have to take shit from anybody." And then at that point, it became okay. Well, now it's a relationship built out of respect and not fear.
Right.
Or not to say that he ever feared me, but he did respect me.
Right.
That dog was great. Now, as Kelly, my dog from Korea, she was just an asshole. She had all the confidence in the world.
She was just an asshole. But she
Yeah.
also had a good trainer beforehand. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, not Lupo, Leo
Heinzig.
yeah.
So Heinzig was Kelly's trainer before, and then Leo had
Wait. Yeah, no, yeah. Leo had, that's what I was saying. Leo had
I know her first name.
the sergeant that
Tanya.
was having sexual relations with Berengia, who was the sergeant at the time, which is illegal in the army, but they never got caught.
Yeah.
And she was married. She was married, and the guy was also at the kennel.
Yeah, her first name's Tanya. I know that. But yeah, she was a terrible trainer. I mean, she just treated him like a pet, and you can't treat those dogs like pets.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
If it depends on how good, if the dog understands the difference, you can't. Like Carlo, I could have treated him like a pet. He would still do it, but he was also old, and it was like in his bones at that point.
Well, and Carlo still needed to work though.
Oh yeah, no, he still needs to work. I still had him work and everything, but
yeah,
I had it made with Carlo. I had no
Yeah.
challenges with him.
you kind of had to. Well, you had your own challenges with Carlo. It took a little bit for Carlo to realize, okay, yeah, you do know what you're doing. Carlo was a stubborn dog, but he was also a good dog, in which he would do.
I did teach
He
him
knew
how to
his job.
sit after being a stop and stare. They gave me that almost impossible task.
Yeah, he was stubborn about that one.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was a lot of building that dog, building up that confidence, man. That was the coolest thing. And that's one of the coolest things about doing it. That's honestly why I still do it to this day. It's just so much fun to see a dog go into a situation knowing nothing, and then walking out going, I know how to do this now.
Yeah.
Just being confident about it.
And you just see that flip switch, which like that's something that in the military that